Guys, we have some breaking news that I want to bring to the table. Commissioner Cathy Engelbert, Commissioner of the WNBA, just announced that starting in 2025, the WNBA Finals format will change.
And we have to start there because Caitlin Clark going #1 to Indiana, we've seen the impact that she has had on college basketball.
The WNBA revealed some startling changes following Caitlin Clark's resignation. To be honest, we all anticipated it. No, the Clark effect is real. It is an extensive phenomena. The ratings did not merely fall, they plummeted after Caitlin and the Indiana Fever were eliminated from the playoffs. The situation was so dire that WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert was presumably forced to take a seat, let out a long sigh, and consider how they could clean up their mess. However, Caitlin Clark is the primary attraction of the WNBA. In order to honor Caitlin's incredible rookie season when she made history and, in actuality, kept those ticket sales alive, they decided to implement certain alterations for 2025. And when I say modifications, I mean that they essentially redesigned the format to keep viewers engaged, as the entire show ran the risk of being unimportant noise without Caitlin. Therefore, are you familiar with the announced changes? No one else is going to break it down for you like this, so don't worry, I have all the information. The WNBA Finals format will shift to a best-of-7 series beginning in 2025. Indeed. Moreover, the format is 2-1-1-1. It's possible that you are aware of Cathy Engelbert, the final WNBA commissioner. These days, she feels that 3 games is not enough when she looks at the finals rating. Right now, Caitlin Clark is our client. We must extend this as the entire globe is fixated on her every action. Who can truly argue against that logic? After all, basketball has become an endless thrill ride because to Caitlin Clark, and Cathy was obviously aware of this. What then does she do? She lets the bomb go. Officially, the WNBA Finals will now consist of a best-of-7 series. Yes, it seems that Caitlin's drama merits a full-fledged miniseries at this point. Furthermore, the format of the first round, which is currently a best-of-3, will be changed to 1-1-1. Indeed. Let's move on to the figures. A best-of-3 format was previously utilized for the first round of the WNBA, and the semifinals and finals were best-of-5. However, it is no longer the case. That was obviously not good enough during the Caitlin Clark era. Engelbert thus makes it a best-of-7 series in the finals. 7 activities. We get 2 more opportunities to watch Clark hurl 40-footers and send the opposing defense reeling. And those additional games, too. More viewers, more tickets sold, more merchandise that is flying off the shelves. Everyone is successful. Well, aside from the unfortunate teams that must play Clark when it matters most. Still, the general notion is conveyed. Thus, this is significant for the market as well as the participants. It was also more than a subdued declaration. Oh no, this happened just after Clark's insane 2024 season, during which she broke records as though they were a pastime. Cathy even exclaimed, look at the numbers, everything was off the charts: viewership, attendance, merchandise sales, and digital engagement. It's as like the demand for Clark Mania was too much for the cosmos to handle. But Cathy wasn't finished yet. She continued beyond the best-of-7 round. Nope, she included this little mic drop. Now is the perfect time to extend the finals, extend the calendar, and give fans more chances to watch the finest players in the world compete at the top level because of the league's expansion and the growing demand for WNBA basketball. In interpretation, there was nothing for them to do. They had to keep up with the insane demand for new games or risk falling behind. The goal here was not growth. This has to do with avoiding the Caitlin Clark phenomenon. But there's still more. Cathy continued after the championship round. She proceeded to declare that there will be 44 games in the regular season because it seems like we can't get enough of Caitlin play Clark after just 3 months. The supporters have made their desires plain in their voice. More astounding performances. More beaters with buzzers. Additional Clark magic. Who is to blame for them? She elevates each and every game to a must-see spectacle. And oh, don't even for a moment believe that they are going to stop here. Engelbert made a clue about potential expansions even further. Yes, you did indeed hear that. The idea of extending the season is being discussed. Since you don't just let that moment pass when someone is shattering viewership records and thrusting the entire league into the spotlight, let's confront it. You make the most of that wave by riding it. It's not enough to have Caitlin Clark for another 3 months. The WNBA is more than happy to oblige fans who demand every possible second. Thus, one thing is quite evident. Not only did Caitlin Clark alter the course of play, the whole screenplay for women's basketball was rewritten by her. It's not as simple as one player dominating the league. This has to do with the WNBA realizing they have a generational talent and not wanting to lose this opportunity. The game will never return to its previous state because it has evolved. Let's consider that for a moment. The previous season saw more than just a slight increase in the WNBA's membership. They completely demolished anticipations. The number of viewers surged as if it were the last season of Game of Thrones. You know, everyone was disappointed before it. People were suddenly hooked to their televisions, even if they couldn't even tell you what the WNBA stood for. What about the arenas? Leave half-empty seats behind. They were crammed closer together than a rush-hour subway car. Why? Due to the fact that Caitlin Clark made the WNBA an event, she elicited empathy. Not only is she a household name and one of the most recognizable athletes in the world, but she is also a women's basketball standout. Hey, let's speak about the numbers, for the Clark effect is more than just a sentimental tale. It has factual support. The 2024 season of the WNBA, highest attendance recorded, and Clark bears full responsibility for that. She didn't only attract a few more admirers, she took an army with her. More than 1.5 million people are expected to pack arenas to see her perform. A few of her titles, broken attendance records like old furniture gathering dust that had lain there unread for years. However, Clark appears out of nowhere, and those records were doomed. Naturally, making the transition from college to the working world was somewhat challenging. There are many things you need to learn, and you need to learn them quickly. A profound burst in Clark. Caitlin Clark has a triple-double, not bad for a rookie. And I'm grateful to have a coaching staff and teammates who have supported me much and shown me a lot of grace while also being a great shoulder to cry on. I think that as long as I turn up and act like myself, I can keep getting better every day as a player and contribute to this organization's continued success. She wasn't merely filling the chairs, though. Oh no, she was also pinning people to their monitors. In 2024, more than 54 million viewers watched her important matches. 54 million. These were no aimless channel surfers. Individuals were parked in front of their phones, tablets, TVs, and so forth, merely to see her perform. By WNBA standards, her games averaged over 1.5 million viewers, which is astounding. That is a 400% increase over the prior season. Clark did more than just control the court. She was the voice of the radio. She is beginning to represent the WNBA. The reason some of the top names in the men's event draw interest just as much as her appearance on the court. In the regular seasons, 54 million people watched the WNBA on television, 170% more than the previous year. Not to be overlooked while discussing dominance is the money. Yes, she carried not just her admirers, but also their money. Clark's jerseys were moving off the shelf so quickly that a speed limit was almost necessary. Her jersey quickly rose to the top of the WNBA sales chart. Because of the insane demand, they were rushing to produce more jerseys by the middle of the season. Nor was it limited to jerseys. Products bearing Caitlin's name were selling out quicker than you could say Deep 3. People were paying top dollar for limited edition merchandise and signed souvenirs. Corporate partners are supporting these players far more than they did 5 years ago, despite the fact that it's a balance between marketing money and representation of diversity in women in leadership roles. We are not discussing cents here. In 2024, the WNBA earned an additional $50 million in income because to Clark's celebrity status. That's not a change of pocket. That's some hefty money to change leagues. The amount of money that makes sponsors take notice and sit up, all of a sudden businesses were rushing up to place their names next to hers and recommendations started rolling in. Not only was Clark a player, she developed into a name, a one-woman advertising campaign. Not only was the league expanding, it was soaring high, and that rocket was being propelled by Clark. The Fever broke the attendance record set by the WNBA in addition to setting it. This season, the Fever outran all other teams in attendance with over 200,000 fans, and they also sold over every away game. Oh, and speaking of transformation, did you note how sleek the courts were in 2024? Yes, that was also the Clark effect at work. Teams essentially rebuilt their courts to correspond with the excitement she was creating. To accentuate her deep three-point shooting locations, they even began incorporating design elements, because you might as well make those locations a feature when Clark is routinely nailing shots from 40 feet out. And it wasn't merely a different way to play the game. It took on a new appearance, following Caitlin Clark and the Fever in Indiana. were eliminated from the WNBA playoffs in 2024. There was a startling decline in attendance and viewership. TV viewership for the game fell dramatically, almost in half. Compared to when Clark was still in the race, attendance at postseason games dropped by as much as 50% in some situations. With Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever gone, let's just say the ratings aren't the same. The first game of Sunday's Aces Liberty Duel averaged 929,000 viewers. It was over 50% less than the Fever Sun competition from previous Sunday. It should be noted that attendance was declining along with the decline in viewing. However, her influence didn't end there. Caitlin Clark was quite busy off the court. She wasn't merely having fun. She was rewriting the story about it. Social media was a hive of activity. Significant media channels were unable to quit discussing her. All of a sudden, WNBA players were attracting the same level of attention that NBA stars had gotten for years. Clark did more than just grab attention for herself. She brought the league with her, and attitudes toward women's basketball began to shift. She was the one driving the shift in the conversation. By 2024's end, there was no denying it. The Clark impact persisted beyond a single season. By setting attendance records, increasing viewership above all previous levels, and transforming the WNBA into something much, much bigger, she completely reinvented what the league could be. She wasn't merely having fun, she was changing it. What's truly being said when people say that 2024 was the best year in WNBA history is that Caitlin Clark made it happen. And you may want to fasten your seatbelt if you believe her story ends there. This is just the start.